Tonight, we make history on the first ever episode of Talkin Puck with John and Mike. We're going to look at the Vegas Golden Knights entering the NHL. We'll look at Pittsburgh Penguins really quickly. Could they repeat or actually do a triple? That would be interesting. And we'll also look at all the picks Vegas had, which one surprised us, which one didn't, and the flurry of trades that we saw within the past week. This is the first episode of Talkin Puck. Alright, with me is my co-host and my brother, Michael Pereira. Mike, what's going on?
What's up? Let's get this on the road.
Alright, bud. And tonight our guest is one of my good buddies, Mike Weiland. We're going to call him Wheels. There's way too many mics here. So, let's just do Wheels.
Wheels?
I think Wheels is good.
I'm down with that.
Alright, sounds good. Wheels, how you doing?
I'm good, man. What's going on?
Same old story. I'm glad you're here. We have a lot to talk about for this week. So let's get this show on the road. First thing I want to mention is obviously congratulations to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Though it hurts me because I'm a Flyers fan. They did it again. Could they do this a third time? Do they have the team? I'm not sure. What do you think, Wheels?
I think they actually, as much as I hate to say it, I think they have a shot now just with the trades that they've done thus far. Yeah. Coming up, picking up Ryan Reeves, which hurts me a lot as I'm a St. Louis Blues fan.
That sucks for you.
Yeah, I know it's terrible, but I think they actually have a shot. Congratulations to them. Really, really, really wanted Nashville to win.
I think we all did.
Yeah, I really wanted Nashville to win, but congrats to them. And the way it's looking, man.
That was surprising, Mike. What'd you think of the city of Nashville's reaction with them going into the Stanley Cup Finals?
I was not surprised. Their support was really good from their fan base. It's really good.
Honestly, I looked at that and I looked at Bridgestone Arena, especially Game 6 with that crowd that was out there. I did not expect that. I knew, obviously, it's their first Stanley Cup Finals. You want that, that kind of scenery. But I didn't think it would be like that.
Nope.
No, that was insane. Bring on the catfish.
Yeah, I know.
Even in Pittsburgh, the guy's throwing catfish. You don't see that from fans. These guys just took to it, right? For the first time out there, and they're still a relatively young club.
That's true.
When you think about it, right?
They
they don't generally have that fan base that the Toronto Maple Leafs have.
No.
For instance, right? Or any of the original 6 teams. And these guys just took to it, and oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Absolutely.
I wasn't too crazy about the anthem singers.
The country singers?
The country singer at the end.
I like that.
Too bad,
yeah, I guess.
But it's Nashville, though.
Yeah, it is. I give them that.
That's their thing. It does make sense for them to do that.
But I prefer the anthem singers from any other arena. The classic, the opera voice kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the classic guys.
That's what makes them unique, though.
Yeah.
I would agree. There was a little bit of an issue going on there. I think the Nashville anthem singer was upset that Carrie Underwood was actually performing
instead of
national anthems, which is kind of weird because this is Nashville. You should be expecting at least a couple country music singers. Yeah. I didn't expect it to be this big, but again, I was expecting at least something of the sorts. The thing I think Pittsburgh needs is to fill the void with Matt Cullen's retirement. He was a big face-off guy.
Yeah.
You got Malkin, you got Crosby.
Kessel.
Obviously. Yeah, Kessel too. But I think Matt Cullen brought something to that team in terms of face-off wins. And that's big because you got Malkin and Crosby, sure. But Cullen was a third-line guy and winning face-offs, which is very important, especially if it's in your own zone. Yeah. I think that's something they're trying to plug up with Ryan Reeves, to more physical force, though we'll touch that in a bit.
We'll get into that.
We'll get into that in a bit. But congratulations once again to the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions of Pittsburgh Penguins.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Is there now a rivalry between Pittsburgh and Nashville? Things got heated a little bit, especially with PK Subban and Crosby. Right?
Yeah.
It's a little MMA style stuff. It was game 5, I think.
Yeah, Sidney Crosby talking about the MMA thing.
Yeah, a little Listerine action.
Listerine. I don't think so. No? At least not yet.
Not yet.
Again, we're talking a team that's from the West and a team that's from the East. Yeah, there's bad blood, but that's what you expect from the finals.
Yeah, true enough.
I think you're getting a bigger rivalry out of the Penguins and the Capitals. That's something we always look forward to because obviously they're in the same division in the Metro. So I think down the road maybe it could be something, but I think it was just, at least for now, just because of the fact that it was Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah.
So now with that said, we got a 31st team that's vying for the Stanley Cup, and that is the Vegas Golden Knights. First things first, what do you guys think of their jerseys?
Yuck.
Oh my god.
Yuck.
You know what? I don't mind their aways.
Yeah.
I don't mind that so much, but their homes are just so terrible.
They should bring the Captain Highliner jerseys from the New York Islanders.
Yeah.
But those jerseys were better than these Vegas
they're
jerseys.
just so. I expected.
Sorry,
more.
Vegas, but you could have done better.
I expected way better out of those jerseys. I was kind of excited to see what they would be, and then I saw it, and I'm like, what is that?
Yeah, I like the away ones. I can agree with you there. The home ones, I'm still kind of trying to like.
Just
yeah, I don't know what it would look like under the Reebok edition if they stayed with Reebok. But now that we've seen the other jerseys in Adidas, do you guys like them, dislike them?
I don't like them overall. Me personally, I don't like the Vegas Golden Knights jerseys at all.
Yeah.
No, not one bit.
But what about the rest of the league? Like in terms of like the Adidas, the new, like it doesn't look like they have collars. They look like regular jerseys.
I'm a huge fan of the jersey look. I personally don't like the sweater look.
Yeah.
I know might be in a minority when it comes to that, but I like the new Adidas stuff. I'm actually looking forward to the new Blues jerseys. I'm gonna pick one up actually in September, I believe they're.
I gotta pick myself a Flyers one as well.
Flyers one,
I gotta add another Montreal one to my collection.
How many do you got at this point?
Montreal fan. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
6 or 8 of them.
How can I be in the same room?
I don't know how we're brothers, to be honest.
You're
like
a Blues fan.
Exactly.
So I got no beef with you.
All right, and so with the Vegas Golden Knights coming into the league, they had the expansion draft that occurred. Some surprising picks, both some better than others.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's side deals involved that they couldn't pick better players. Because again, the one thing I'm surprised out of all this was Sami Vatanen out of Anaheim was not picked. And they picked Clayton Stoner instead. So that kind of surprised me a little bit. With that said, Mike, do you have a best player out of the Vegas Golden Knights that they picked?
Now, are we talking goalies?
We're talking the whole roster. You're George McPhee. You're looking at everyone that's available. Out of everyone that they picked, who would you say was the key to build around?
It was Marc-Andre Fleury. No question, guys. No.
Yeah?
Yeah. He's 3-time Stanley Cup champion. Who else on that roster can you say did that much for a team? He took the Penguins to 3 championships.
Absolutely.
Murray was hurt. First 2 rounds?
Yeah.
Murray the first 2 rounds.
Yeah.
It was
he carried the team.
Yeah, Ottawa solved Flurry.
Yeah.
And that's where they turned back to Murray. That tandem worked. But again, you're talking about a goalie who had a Pittsburgh team in front of him.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see him in a different market, in a team that I wouldn't say is built to win now. Obviously, no expansion team can possibly do that.
No.
But I think they kind of set themselves back a little bit with some of the deals. But I do agree. I would say probably Marc-Andre Fleury is that guy that you'll try to build around, because I tend to think you want to build from the net up. So I think that was the best available pick. If not him, maybe Philip Grubauer out of Washington, or
someone likes his
I don't.
Grubauer.
Yeah,
I do like Grubauer. Even though, again, it's a Metro goalie, I shouldn't like him, but I do. But Antti Ranta was also on the table, and he wasn't picked. Oscar Lindberg was actually picked over him, which I kind of like Lindberg as well. But my Wheels, what do you think?
Well, definitely, their best pick was Marc-Andre Fleury. I mean, you have James Neal on here as well, who is just a grade A player. He's your first line player, but I can't say that he was the best pick just because he's, if I'm not mistaken, he's an unrestricted free agent next year. So they've only got 1 year with him, and that's it. You're not going to build a team around him unless they can keep him.
You would expect him to sign.
You would hope he would, but you can't guarantee it at that point.
Yeah.
Where you've got some time with Marc-Andre Fleury. Again, showing my Blues team, they picked up Perron, who's going to do well there. I mean, he's done well with the Blues. He's gonna give you some scoring and stuff like that, which is what they need. So he's gonna do quite well with that. I actually quite like the Trevor Van Riemsdyk pickup. I mean, he did a little bit of work last year, not a lot. He's definitely not a first line, he's a defenseman, right? Definitely not your number one go-to defenseman, but he wasn't terrible.
It'll be interesting about that the name you just brought up, because it'll come back later when we talk about the trades. Yeah. Because I think that was the most surprising event that happened between the Vegas Golden Knights, because I thought Trevor Van Riemsdyk was a guy that you could kind of build the defense core with. And he came at a cheap cap hit for the next year at $825. You would kind of hope to see them utilize that player, but again, we'll discuss that in a bit when we get into the trades. Anyone surprised by any of these picks? Anything caught you off guard that Vegas picked?
For me, would be David Clarkson. Somehow he's on the roster.
Well, that came via a trade.
Yeah. To get his contract, it's $5.2 million until the end of 2020 season.
Yeah,
that's a hit.
You could thank a certain GM for that one.
But to be honest, I think
to pick up
because they got some really good picks out of that too.
Yeah.
You got to remember too, this is a team that had all the money in the world to spend. We look at Arizona. Arizona's done the same things. They picked up a couple of players. I believe Chris Pronger is a Coyote technically, because they're holding his contract. And if I'm not mistaken, Datsuk. Chris Pronger and Pavel Datsuk are Arizona Coyote players.
Yeah,
technically.
Technically.
For me, guys, the one that kind of caught me a little bit off guard was Derek Engelland, defenseman that came out of Calgary. He's known for being a resident of Las Vegas, Nevada. I just didn't like that pick at all. I think they had some other choices there in Calgary, but they picked Engelland. 36-year-old defenseman, you're not building a team with him in it. So I think obviously side deals were made, but again, I thought maybe Vegas were too lenient on the other GMs. They did too many trades, obviously investing in the future with picks, but it may cost them a little bit here because Clayton Stoner over Sami Vatanen, it drives me nuts. I can't believe that happened, but it did. Wheels. Anything surprise jump at you?
want to say yes, but at the same point, I mean, with the expansion draft, everybody's pretty much on the table, right? So I mean, there's a lot of, I'll use the term low end guys that they picked up.
They didn't pick a.
I mean, I was kind of surprised with March. I can't even talk today. The guy from Florida. I was surprised that they picked him up, but that was definitely a good pick.
I'm surprised he was available.
Yeah.
I was surprised Marshall was available.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I was surprised. I figured they would have locked him up, but they let him go, and Vegas picked him up, and rightfully so. So I would say that, to me, is a surprise in that regard.
Yeah. With that pick, Florida also sent a heavy contract in for Riley Smith, but I think Riley Smith will actually be a good player for Vegas. I think he'll produce a good amount of points for them that they need. But that's good. I'm glad that this part is over, because I want to get to the good stuff that happened this past week. There's so many trades, and I'm talking big names here. I'm not talking about some side deals or like what Vegas did for the expansion draft. These are big name deals going to big name places. So let's kind of look at them in a little bit of an order here. Wheels, I believe Vegas traded Van Riemsdyk to kind of kick things off here.
Yeah, which is kind of a surprising trade. Like you said, he was a cheap player coming in at $825. Half decent defenseman.
Yeah.
He virtually unknown last year, but did a little bit of work and got himself known. And they picked him up, and so then they traded him to the Hurricanes.
Yeah.
For a second-round pick.
Yeah.
Which, okay, I get it. You want more picks to try and build your club, but at the same point, it surprises me.
He's a young player.
Yeah.
Like, he is a young player, a player you can develop. Make sure he grows with your system. And, I understand they're stockpiling the picks, but at this point, you have so many picks.
Well, and they gave up a seventh round pick.
A seventh round.
For that. So, that just makes, to me, not an incredible amount of sense.
Yeah.
Right? You're giving up a seventh round pick in 2018 and Trevor Van Riemsdyk for a second round pick this year. Was there something that he truly wanted over him? I don't think that was a very good
Again, I think they're looking way into the future, but the problem here, guys, is we're trying to build a market in Vegas, so you want a competing team as well. Something that brings butts to the seats, right?
With this roster, I don't know how they're going to compete.
Well, they're superstar players, James Neal up forward. But that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
You got some good names, but most of them underrated. And again, Marchessault.
I wonder if they're going to use James Neal later on in the trade deadline this year to pick something up, since it's going to be his last year.
Yeah.
Under control. Send him to a team that's going to make a deep run.
That's true.
Back.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would make sense.
And so after that trade, some more big names.
Yeah, you know what? This it doesn't surprise me at all. Jordan Eberle for Ryan Strome, right? Oilers to the New York Islanders, right? Like, I think that's a good trade for the Oilers, anyways.
This trade was happening before the roster freeze, if I'm correct. Obviously, I kept hearing reports that there was a third team involved to do sort of a three-way trade, but ended up being player for player. I have an axe to grind about this trade.
Really?
Absolutely. And, it really, these two teams I don't really care about, especially the Islanders, I can care about them. But the thing that I have an axe to grind is with the Edmonton Oilers fans. A lot of people were upset by this trade. The thing I don't understand about this outrage of emotions, because they lost Jordan Eberle for Ryan Strome, who doesn't produce like Eberle does. What boggles my mind is they're cutting $3 million here in salary. Edmonton's gonna have to start paying big bucks here to Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. They've got some big contracts to build here. They need the cap space. So this is a good move, in my opinion. Eberle didn't produce in the playoffs. He did not show up. And, Edmonton has given him his chances. I think it was the right move here. If any Edmonton Oilers fans want to disagree with me here, that's fine. Just let's go back here to last year with the Hall for Larson trade.
Yeah.
Everybody was, again, in an uproar because they traded one of the best offensive players. I think he was top 10 in points.
That trade surprised me.
It was. But now looking at that, who won the trade? Because you look at a New Jersey Devil team who picked up Taylor Hall, ended up in last. Sure, they drafted Nico with the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
But they did not produce with Taylor Hall in their lineup. Now you look at Edmonton's side. Larson in the back end, this guy was logging in 30 minutes a game during the postseason. This is a guy they're going to rely on heavily.
Yeah, he was their big part of their run this year. But it's like you said, Eberle really didn't do anything this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Especially the playoffs. He was just completely, just like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Right? Those two players have really not done much for the Oilers for quite some time now.
So
At
if
least,
you're looking
yeah.
at Eberle, $6 million a season for what? Maybe 20 goals if you're lucky for the season?
Yeah, I think this was a great trade.
There was no salary retained here, so it was legit.
It all went, eh?
Player for player here. No picks, no nothing, just straight up.
Yeah,
I think this was a win for Edmonton.
Yeah,
I
I like this trade a lot. Eberle was just not producing in Edmonton, and he hasn't been producing for a long time.
Right.
Right. It's time. It's more than time for him to move on. There was even chatter when they made the trade to New Jersey for Hall and Larson that they should have moved Eberle. Not.
Well, you weren't gonna get.
You weren't gonna get that. But
Larson's a right-handed shot defenseman.
You're right.
Those are rare.
But they're like everybody was saying, well, why would you move Hall and not Eberle?
Well,
right. So, like that just goes to show already that I think even the Oilers fans just know it's time to move on for this.
They have to,
Yeah.
and you're going to be thanking your lucky stars later on when they're able to sign guys like Connor McDavid, the guy. That is your guy, Edmonton.
The man.
Do not do anything to get rid of that man. He is the man.
Dare I say the legend?
Not yet.
Well, some of them are
Not
calling him
yet.
McJesus already, so I mean, he is delivering here.
He is ridiculous.
So,
he's right
100
there.
points, Hart Trophy. This kid is gonna do wonders in this league.
He's gonna bring back the cup to Edmonton.
Absolutely.
He'll lead the way.
Exactly. And all right, going into the next trade here.
Montreal Canadiens here, so we've got we're here.
Schlemko. Yeah, going to Montreal.
Montreal for a 2019 fifth round pick. The
This
Knights want their pick in the worst possible way.
This kind of addressed Montreal's needs a little bit. They traded Sergachev out of Montreal, who was a highly touted defenseman, going over. And I'm just not. I don't understand picking up Schlemko just yet. I think there was some better options out there. Maybe Travis Hamonic was a good pick. But Schlemko will do. Cheap cap hit at 2.1.
He's only 30 years old.
He's still got some gas in him. He had a really good year in I believe it was New Jersey, then went to San Jose, did some good work there. I mean, he's one of those guys you kind of rely on the back end. He is pretty good. But Montreal needs defense and defense bad. So this is just, I think, the starting for them to kind of get there. They got rid of Emelin. He was picked up in the expansion draft. Sergachev traded, of course, to Tampa Bay Lightning for Drouin, which, you know what, I can see why they did it. They need some offense up front. Mike, what do you think of this? Your team picking up Schlemko for a relatively decent I mean, it's an all right pick. I think Montreal kind of won this deal a little bit. But what do you think?
It was a good deal. I don't like they're trying to build a defense because the biggest problem Montreal always had was scoring. They can't win. Rely on Carey Price every single night.
Right.
And Weber can't score every single game.
I understand that, but are you a little bit nervous that really you got what, 3 top named defensemen at the back in Weber, and you can only play him for so much because he is starting to gain up in age there. Clearly he can still play, but you also have Jeff Petrie,
which is, I think, the most underrated player in the league.
In the league. I don't know about the league. I would consider Montreal, but not the league.
Wow.
He didn't get his chance in Edmonton. Now he's growing in Montreal.
I think you got your bias goggles on a little bit. I'm not sure.
Underrated. I think he's an amazing player.
I think he is underrated. Yes. In the league, again, I think Marchessault is one of those guys, 30 goal scorer, and just left unprotected like it was nothing.
Yeah, which still surprises me.
It stunned me a little bit. But yes, Jeff Petrie out back, and of course Jordy Ben, who I thought was pretty good in the back end there for Montreal.
Too, eh? Just
absolutely.
They just picked him up for nothing.
Well, he was kind of hiding in his brother's shadow in Dallas. So I mean, for him to kind of jump out and into the spotlight like that, good for him. He kind of deserved to be recognized for the stuff he's doing back then.
I mean, this trade isn't too bad. You're giving up a 5th-round pick in 2019. For a guy that's good, so the last 2 years gives you 18, 19 points. Playing 62, 67 games respectively.
Yeah.
You get a little bit of penalty minutes out of him, 14 and 16 again respectively from each year. He's pretty solid on his stuff. He's getting 6 goals a year, 13, 12 assists a year. So I mean, it's not a great. He's not a great guy, but he's definitely going to help you.
Yeah, and he's more of that defensive-minded player that I think Montreal kind of needs because they've had some offensive defensemen, PK Subban for one, but I think they need some guys back there who can kind of win the puck off the boards. Think little gritty things like that. Montreal kind of needs that. They lack in size.
But Mike's right. They need scoring. They need their main guys to score, which they didn't do.
If you're in Bergevin's shoes, would you have made the Sergachev for Joanne deal?
No.
I would probably agree with Bergevin here. I probably would have struck the deal.
Think so?
Sergachev, obviously rookie. You don't know. He could build.
I think they have more problems to deal with that. I mean, look, even what Galchenyuk. Like, come on, this is your guy that you're like, this is our guy. He's going to be our top scorer. And for a little bit, he was in the regular season. Then come the playoffs, like where did these guys go? Seriously.
Yeah, Plekanec is.
Plekanec was supposed to be
he doesn't make sense to me.
He's a face-off man, but then he can't
score. That guy makes no sense to me because it just seems like it
makes no sense to you. I had him in the pool. I had him in our pool.
You're the sucker.
Then the best player, Pacioretty, it's like he'll score like 10 games, like unbelievable. Then all of a sudden he just disappears.
It just disappears. But again, I think this was a good trade overall. Montreal picking up a really good player here in David Schlemko.
But it's surprising me that the Golden Knights seem to be getting rid of their defensemen.
It is kind of strange. But they're stockpiling picks like I couldn't even imagine. I didn't think they're going to have this many picks, to be fair. But here we are.
They're definitely going to be a young team. That's for
exactly.
That's for sure.
Very young. They better hurry up, though, if they want to utilize the services of Marc-Andre Fleury. I'm just saying.
He doesn't have a whole lot of time left.
Yeah,
let's be completely honest here. He is already way into his decline.
Yeah.
His best years are way behind him. He's still
Yeah,
the goalie.
absolutely.
Right? He'll still do well.
He wasn't the flurry of the 2009 championships.
No,
that flurry was.
He's got 2 seasons under his contract right now.
Oh, it's 2 seasons. Oh, okay.
So he'll be you can start building around him and stuff, but at the same point, you gotta he is not a Stanley Cup winning goalie anymore.
It's hard.
He's not. I know. He did really well at the beginning.
This is a tough thing to say, and Pittsburgh fans are going to berate you, but
I've already in the inaugural version of the inaugural episode of this podcast.
You're done, bud.
But
don't walk into Pittsburgh anytime soon.
But it's true.
But again, it's hard to make that assumption. I can't tell you. Again, you look at Fleury in the first 2 rounds, and he was fantastic.
He did well. I'm not going to take that away.
And he did not find his game in the 3rd round with Ottawa, and luckily Pittsburgh had Murray to back him up.
You can't tell me because Murray was hurt was the only reason he was in there. If Murray was not hurt, you can't. If Murray was just healthy and ready to go, there is no way he would not have started.
Oh, Murray would have started.
Yeah.
Right? Murray would have started. There's no question. There's no question.
He did well. He did well to cover him until he got healthy and it came back. But as soon as he was healthy, there was just that short rope, and he got yanked real fast.
The only way Murray was
healthy
healthy and Fleury was healthy, the only way Fleury would start is Murray would have a bad game, and then Fleury would come in and steal the game for Pittsburgh.
Right, but
then the coach would be in the hard spot of putting in who should I put.
Okay, but fast forward here to the finals. Murray had 2 really bad games in Nashville, and they did not turn back to Fleury. They stuck their guns.
There wasn't even a question.
But you already knew that Pittsburgh had moved on from Fleury. The chance they were able to pull Fleury when he had a bad game, they started Matt Murray the very next game.
They moved on from Fleury last season.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is that they literally pulled Fleury on the first time he was bad, started Murray the next one as soon as he was available, and never looked back. And then Murray had 2 bad outings, and I mean terrible outings in Nashville. He got wrecked. Just like Rene in Pittsburgh, Murray had the same issues. And they did not turn back to Fleury. You knew the time was there. It was over. The writing was on the wall. Fleury's time in Pittsburgh was done. Obviously, again, not the 2009 Fleury that everybody loved in Pittsburgh.
Right? That's completely back to my point. He is no longer that Stanley Cup winning goaltender. He's good. He's not that.
I guess
he's not going to take you to the cup.
I guess we're gonna see now with Fleury out in Vegas with
no Crosby in front
Vegas
of him.
Golden Knights team that's led by James Neal and I guess Marchessault or the real deal Neal. All right, so let's go on, and this is, I think, the most interesting week for a specific team that started out with this trade. Wheels, you got the floor.
Okay, I'm gonna say the second trade because it's just so much more interesting. Let's talk about the first trade. Yeah. This whole thing we're looking at to the Blackhawks. Connor Murphy and I'm going to pronounce these names completely wrong.
Laurent Dauphin.
Is that what it is? Because I can't read it for this.
Nicholas Hjalmarsson.
I totally would not have gotten that right if I tried to pronounce that at all.
That's just the biased part because he's a Blues fan and he's reading a Blackhawks.
That's exactly right.
But
Hawks. Hawks and Blues, that's a great playoff series.
Yes. To be fair, I'm pretty sure we're pronouncing it wrong. But in a surprising move, Coyotes going for some big names, starting with this trade in Nicholas Hjalmarsson. And that caught me off guard until later on that day.
Oh my God! Yeah.
But we'll get to that in a second.
I mean,
Do you think, obviously, cheaper players, decent players going to Chicago here? Obviously, this is all cap relief. You gotta know it's cap relief. But Chicago, Marian Hossa is now gone for the year because of his skin issue, and we obviously need to shed some more contracts if they're going to able to keep all their expensive players. So this is a good start, but I mean, this is a big win for Arizona, I believe.
They need something. I mean, let's be honest, that team has not been doing well for a long time, and it just even money-wise, like their team is not.
Well, it's been an interesting week because they had a majority owner buy out the minority ones to take complete ownership. From this, they turned everything around. They let go of Dave Tippett, Shane Doan, the guy that was the face of this franchise since it was the former Winnipeg Jet, is now no longer a Coyote. So, I mean, they're obviously looking to turn the page here, and this is a great start. A Swedish defenseman, who is he going to pair up with? Maybe Ekman Larsson? I don't know, but that sounds like a really good tandem.
Yeah. I'm curious. I'm going to hold an opinion on this just because I want to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's one of those. That's the fun of trades. Right? Some of them you don't know until years to come when they actually go into fruition. Biggest thing I can think of is Philip Forsberg, who was traded from Washington to Nashville for Martin Erat. Yeah. And look where Philip Forsberg is now. So, I mean, that's the love of trades. You kind of have to speculate in what's going on. For me, this is a win for Arizona. I think Chicago didn't want to pull the trigger, but they had to do something. And
it's all contract for Chicago.
Yeah.
It is interesting to see here.
That's their deals now because they're gonna get hit hard next.
I think
he's a really good defenseman.
I think yeah, but I mean, in exchange here, they're getting Connor Murphy, who is just a little bit cheaper, but this contract is solid till 2022. So I mean, you got Hjalmarsson with 2 more years on his deal. Obviously, he may get a raise, who knows, or maybe he gets dealt, depending on what's going on in Arizona. But I am definitely interested in this new look that Arizona has. Now we're going to go to the next trade here, or else we're going to run out of time.
Oh my God.
And I think after talking about this trade, you think you're not going to hear so many more big names, and then this pops out. Weiland?
Oh my God! Like I almost wanted to throw up a little bit when I saw this. Like how can you trade Panarin? I mean, let's be honest. How can you trade Panarin?
I'll tell you right now. Brandon solid for $6 million until 21. Now you're paying Panarin $6 million until the end of the 19 season. Now, if you're the Blackhawks, you got to keep your core. And who's your core in Chicago?
Well, you got Taves
and Taves. Then you got your defense core there. Now, when Panarin's contract ends, he's going to ask for more than $6 million. It's going to be over.
It'll be interesting to see, though. But is he going to be the Panarin of Chicago in Columbus?
That's just it, because he was top line guy. He was getting fed a lot of that stuff, right? Yeah. He's getting fed.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying as a Chicago owner or manager, sorry, and then I see it like this. So if by the end of the 18-19 season, you're gonna pay Panarin more money.
Yeah.
If he stayed in Chicago, he would get $8 million at least, or something crazy like that. Because, like you said, he was getting fed with the players around him. He was getting fed pretty good.
But it'll be
now you're paying Brandon Saad $6 million a year. and his contract is till the end of 2021.
So that's a Blackhawks team that's rebuilding then, if you want to look at it.
Absolutely. And I think they have to do this every year because of the contracts that they have and the cap. Absolutely. But another thing of reports I've heard is that the reason why they went with Saad over Panarin is Panarin hasn't really showed up in the postseason for Chicago. Obviously, Brandon Saad has been one of their key players in the postseason. Not so much the regular season, but just the postseason itself. Yeah, absolutely. But it'll be interesting to see Panarin in a Columbus team that has found their offensive stride. If he can deliver like he has in Chicago to Columbus, we're looking at a team here that could potentially contend. They got a 2-time Vezina winner in Sergei Bobrovsky. Again, another Flyer. It just burns. But nonetheless, a 2-time Vezina winning trophy winner in Sergei Bobrovsky.
Don't forget Coach of the Year.
And Coach of the Year, Tortsy. If for those who missed the NHL awards, John Tortorella has won his second Jack Adams Award. Absolutely a surprise to me. I actually thought it was going to be McClellan out of Edmonton, but here we are. But it is interesting to see Columbus next year with Panarin in the lineup over Brendan Saad.
You're right. Panarin, last year, 31 goals, 43 assists, 74 points, and a plus 18.
Beautiful.
Right? But he's getting fed all that. But here's his career playoffs.
But
for playoffs for career, 11 games, 2 goals, 6 assists, 8 points, a -2.
See.
Last year, he had 1 assist.
That's what I'm saying. So and that's one of the the postseason.
They got destroyed.
Well, they got swept, right? They got swept. Pecorine showed up for that one. I'll tell you that.
But he's young.
Yeah.
This was his second year, right?
Exactly. And I think that's where Chicago kind of dropped the ball here. Is I think they kind of forgot this kid is a kid, and he still has a lot of growing to do. And I mean, again, he was in alignment with Patrick Kane, but
it's all the reason they want to keep their core. They want to keep their core together. You're paying Taze and
Patrick
Kane $10.5 million a year.
Sure.
Big chunk of change, and that defense core with.
But it's curious to know, when is it that you think your core can't provide the same kind of offense that it has before? Taves is kind of slipping a little bit. Kane is still up there.
He's there.
But now with Panarin out of the lineup, with Saad, is that going to be the same kind of connection?
Your team older. Let's put that. Like, you just gave your top guy, well, not top guy obviously, but your top young guy. You just gave up for an older guy for cap space.
I think Chicago should have looked.
What are you thinking about at this point? Are you still looking to make a run? Or are you still looking to break it down? Or where you got to figure where are the Blackhawks going with this?
We'll definitely have to take a look closer here when the season comes on in October, and I can't wait to see some of this.
On the top 100 list that they came out, best players, 3 of them are active Chicago players.
Yeah, again, I have an issue with that.
What else can Duncan Keith do?
Absolutely. Some may make the case that it would have been Evgeny Malkin as 100, but
the Chicago Blackhawks team is not getting any younger. They're just getting older.
They're getting older, and that's what I'm saying. At what point do you evaluate your team and your core and say, we may need to do something big here while we still have the chance? I mean, this is big enough. But I think they went with the wrong guy here in Artemi Panarin.
I don't think they should have got rid of him. I think they needed to keep him.
Onwards we go. A very small deal here.
The Wild Jackets.
Yeah, the Wild and Jackets here with Schroeder going to the Blue Jackets. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this correctly. To Columbus in exchange here.
Salaturo?
Oh, Salaturo. Yeah, we're really bad with names here sometimes.
I'm impressed that I can speak English half the time.
This is a very underwhelming deal considering all the deals that's placed around it. All right, so now we've spoke to Arizona. We've been speaking about Arizona here, and they came and did another blockbuster deal. This was just as surprising as the last. What do we have going on here?
Well, we got the Coyotes, Stepan and Ranta, and then going to New York, first round draft pick and D'Angelo for this year.
D'Angelo is a prospect that they're kind of excited about, and I can see the price tag being what it is. Derek Stepan still has a lot of gas in him.
He's good until the 21 season at $6.5 million.
It's a big cap hit, and they're eating everything. But Arizona here picked up their number one center in a heartbeat.
Yeah, and their number one
goalie.
Yeah, they traded the whole issue with Calgary. Stepan needed a goalie to.
Stepan, I think, will do well over there.
Stepan is going to do well, I think.
I hope, it's like you said, the Coyotes are just trying to turn things around. I hope with all these trades they actually do, and I hope the people start coming out to their games because it's been a dying team, let's be honest.
Yeah, and I mean, for them to pick up Stepan, Ranta, and Hjalmarsson on the same day is impressive. I think right now, with everything that's going on, and I'm including the Vegas Golden Knights here, guys, I think Arizona surprised me the most.
They did a lot.
They came out of left field. They completely changed this boat around, and they definitely look like they're trying to make a mark in the NHL. They've been in the dweller for many, many years, so it's finally something worth to see out of the desert. But good for them. Ranta, cheap option here for now. Obviously, he's going to get some big bucks if he resigns. But with Ranta as their number one goalie, they're looking good for the future. As we go on to the next trade, this is actually a personal trade between me and you, Wheels.
I know, this is crazy. See, I got the St. Louis Blues going on here. Blues! And the Flyers, whatever.
My Philadelphia
Your Philadelphia Flyers. And this trade surprised me a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
I was kind of surprised with this. The next trade, super surprised me. We'll get to that in a second. But we got Braden Shen going to the Blues.
Yes.
Which is surprising for Laterra, a first-round pick and a conditional first-round pick for 2018. I mean, it's peanuts, really, when you're looking at cap space on this. It's $400,000. 5.1 for Shen, 4.7 for Laterra. Laterra was, okay, I think the Blues actually won in this case. To me, I think Shen's going to be the better forward in this case.
I agree to some.
But we may have given up just that conditional. I don't know if that conditional pick should have been in there.
And I think that's what sweetened the pot. Because if it was just a pick in Laterra, I don't think Philly would have pulled the trigger on it.
Yeah.
I think the conditional kind of helped it go in the right direction. I do agree. I'm pretty sure St. Louis will win this deal. I like Laterra, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's a Braden Shen.
No. Well, that's what St. Louis needs right now. St. Louis needs more scoring. They rely completely on Tarasenko.
Yeah.
And nobody else.
This will be interesting.
And they need that second goal scorer. And let's be honest, Tarasenko was not great in the playoffs. He hasn't been in the last few playoffs. And I think Braden Shen's going to help with that. I think they need to take just a little bit of pressure off of Tarasenko and just kind of let him do his thing.
Yeah, and speaking of your Blues, that second trade there.
I don't like this trade at all. Ryan Reeves is going to Pittsburgh, and we got Sundqvist and a first round.
So you're
year.
basically telling me at the top of the podcast I asked you guys if the Pittsburgh Penguins was going to three-peat. In essence, I think Ryan Reeves agrees.
Yeah, Ryan Reeves just kind of lucked out here. He might get his.
No, I don't think he agrees, but it's just the opportunity to play with Crosby.
Well, that's just it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Reeves, he's
chance.
not your first line, second line guy, but he's your tough guy. I know everybody says this is the era where you don't need the goon, you still need somebody to spark your team.
Yes.
This guy's gonna come up. He's gonna make big hits. He's gonna get something going if you guys are, if the momentum's swung the other way. He's not afraid to get dirty.
Well, St. Louis can bring back Steve Ott then if they want that.
Well, that's
no. I think he's a coach now.
He's a coach.
Steve Ott is not Ryan Reeves. Like Ryan Reeves is pretty much in his prime at this point. Like he's a.
You know what? I'm looking at it from the other side of the spectrum here, because obviously you're a Blues fan, but I'm looking at it at a Pittsburgh side, and I understand why they did the deal, but they found a way to succeed without a player like Reeves. They found that way.
Who found that way?
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
They found a way. They're back-to-back champions for a reason, and they've done it without that kind of physical force. Tell me, who's the most physical guy in Pittsburgh right now?
I want to honestly. I want to see Crosby.
I don't know. Yeah,
I want
and
to
that's
see Crosby
and that's a bad thing.
He went toe to toe with Subban.
But he's
that's
because Subban wanted to get under his skin anyways, but Crosby's not afraid to get in there.
Absolutely.
But like you said,
Gino,
you don't want Crosby to be like that.
Gino delivers hits. Gino does deliver some good hits as well. Malkin can be a strong guy. There is no player of Ryan Reeves type of player in Pittsburgh, and yet they've succeeded without that. So it's kind of an interesting trade on both ends. I'm kind of surprised St. Louis decided to let him go. Who do they have now that replaces a guy of Reeves' physical type of game?
Periaco would be the next.
I guess so. I would probably.
He's not. I don't think he's as a large personality, I guess, as Reeves is, but he is there, and he will Periaco get your face.
Yeah.
But I did not want to see Reeves go. I really did. We got Sundqvist back, which will again I think will provide us with some scoring.
Don't forget, you guys got the first round there too. So
we got something out of that, but I mean, like that was 31st overall.
Yeah.
Right, so it's not like you're getting your top, top guy, top prospects coming in.
Well, you know what? I'll take 31st over nothing, really. I guess for St. Louis, I think that's decent. Decent trade here. It's one of those trades where I kind of question both sides. I don't think it needed to be done. I guess maybe it's just trying to light a fire in their team. But it'll be definitely interesting to see, especially now that Mike Yeo is now the official guy behind the bench there.
He's been official for a long time.
Oh, since they brought him in, they knew Hitchcock was gone.
Yeah.
So again, interesting stuff there. Going on here to the, I believe it's the final trade.
The Flames. Why don't you take this one there, Mike? I was just kind of looking stuff up here.
The Flames pick up Travis Hamonic and a conditional round pick from the Islanders.
Looks like a fourth round, yeah.
From the Islanders for first round pick and a second in the next year's draft and a conditional second round. Well, Calgary's building their defense.
In the sake of their future, I understand they want to win now. I think they got a team that could get them there. I'm not sure with Mike Smith being in net, a veteran guy, and Hamonic now in the back. I think they're going for older. And, this is a speed game here, guys.
But their forwards can. I think that team can. Those players can steal games. That forward.
Yes, Mike. You know what? Mike Smith does deserve to win a couple of games here, which is interesting because now Arizona's trading.
Arizona kind of hung them to dry a lot of times.
A lot.
I was looking through some stuff. There was games he would save like 38 shots or something ridiculous.
Or even more.
Sometimes more. And Arizona could not score. Could not score, and it was like. It's basically like Carey Price.
Yeah.
Carey Price is like, he can do so much, but name of the game, you got to score.
Yeah.
If your players are not scoring, you're not going to win.
Absolutely. Well, let's look at some of his stats. I mean, last year he only played 49 games, 3 goals, 11 assists for 14 points with 60 penalty minutes. So he's your penalty guy. If you need a penalty guy for a pool, he might be your might be your guy.
You get your minutes.
Yeah, but going back, I mean. 72 games played, 71 games played, 33 points in the 14-15 season, 21 points the 15-16, and again 14.
Yeah.
This year,
again, you're talking
49 games, so that means he's probably hurt for a little bit, or I don't think they would move him down.
And you got to remember, this is an Islanders team, and you can only do so much with the team that's around you.
He spent his entire career with
the New York Islanders, yeah. So it is interesting to see him go to the Flames. Actually, I thought that was a surprising team that was interested in Hamnick, but nonetheless, I heard rumblings about Toronto. Hamnick and a Toronto deal looked almost imminent at some points, but I guess Calgary kind of beat him to the punch.
Yeah.
So that is definitely interesting. Now, obviously, we already established here that you, Wheels, are a Blues fan. Obviously, we already have the answer to that. But what I'm going to do with every one of my guests is I just kind of want to know who your favorite team, your player, and if you had any kind of favorite NHL moment that kind of resonates to you.
A favorite NHL moment. I'll start with that. I don't think I have a favorite NHL moment. I definitely.
Nothing sticks out to you when
you know what? There's
get goosebumps.
You know what? There is one thing, and it's a completely huge negative thing, and it actually led me to become a St. Louis Blues fan. Because I know it's crazy, right? I was a Toronto Maple Leafs fan for the longest time.
Oh, he jumped ship.
I did jump ship. I'll fully.
I think we all did, yeah.
And I was just at the time I was watching Toronto. I was still a Toronto fan, but I was just getting into the St. Louis Blues. I'd seen a Blues game in St. Louis, and I really liked the way they played, and I just liked their atmosphere. But that shortened season, where Reimer gave up that 3-goal lead to move on to the next round against Boston.
Yeah.
And I remember I was at work and I was on break eating lunch, watching the game, and I literally just almost threw my food around. It was ridiculous. And I went, that's it. I'm a St. Louis Blues fan. I am done with the Toronto Maple Leafs and this ridiculousness.
You heard it here first, Toronto fans.
It's crazy. I know.
His favorite moment in the NHL.
I know.
Was when the Toronto Maple Leafs.
It's so ridiculous.
Dropped a 4-1 lead.
I know.
At the third period
to Boston.
And he's not even a Bruins fan.
I know.
It's so ridiculous. I just like to be different. That's ridiculous.
Wow.
Not only changed teams, he changed conference.
He wanted to get away as far from Toronto as possible.
Still,
absolutely. And you know what? I agreed. I was a Toronto fan. I would say the Gilmore, Sundin.
Yeah.
That era there.
That era was good.
And then I became a Flyers fan because I was all into the whole Broad Street bully stuff.
Oh, okay.
And it was probably the year before the lockout that I did that. And then the lockout happened and they changed the rules. And one of the rules that was significant to us especially was the 2-line pass.
Oh, yeah.
They removed that, so they pretty much eliminated the center line there. And for Philadelphia, they were a grind, like a team that would get in your face and all that. And then all of a sudden it turned into a speed game, and it just went all the way upside down.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I just went from Toronto to Philadelphia, and they tanked the last place in the league. And I'm like, I don't know if I made the right decision, but luckily I stuck to my guns.
Nice.
Who is your favorite player?
Favorite player? No, I'm always opposite of it. Like everybody always says like the big name guys. So like for St. Louis, people are like, oh, I'm a Tarasenko fan, or I'm a TJ Oshie fan when he was there before he went to Washington, or any of the big guys and stuff. But honestly, for me, and this is gonna sound completely ridiculous because I don't even think he's playing in the NHL anymore. Is Carlo Koliakovo.
Wow.
I was a big Koliakovo fan. I watched him when he was with the Leafs. I liked him. And then when I went on to the Blues and I really started to study the Blues and who was there, I'm like, oh my God, there's Koliakovo, there's Steen, and Koliakovo. All these old Leaf guys are here, and I just loved Koliakovo. I don't know why.
I think
just like the way he played. He's always like the fourth line guy that nobody paid attention to, but I still like the way he played.
Looks like kind of partially you're cheering for the Western Conference version of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
It's weird, right? I know.
With Steen and Koliakovo and all that.
I know.
So that is pretty interesting to know.
It's bizarre.
As we come to the end of the podcast, I want to thank you for coming, stopping by.
No, it's fun.
You're more than welcome to come whenever you want. Shoot the breeze, talking puck,
whatever.
Like in the
can come together.
Exactly. So I want to thank you for that, and of course, Mike, I will see you next week for our second episode of Talkin' Puck. Of course, you can follow us on social media at Talkin' Puck via Instagram or Twitter, and you can also visit our website at talkinpuck.com. I don't know, I'm tired. English. I need to go to bed. Talkinpuck.com without the G in talkin', because we're hip to the bone like that. We're totally trying to relate to the youth as much as possible.
So you let your backbone slide? Is that what you're telling me right there?
They probably won't even know that reference at this point.
And I just did it.
Yeah, you did. Once again, thank you, and we'll see you next week on Talkin' Puck.